So normally I could do.
We are live.
Uh, I better press mine to go live, right? I
Okay.
forgot. Yeah. So you're streaming to LinkedIn already, right?
Yes.
Mm, YouTube's my thing, really.
Oh,
Should
there
my,
you are, Christina.
like I should,
Welcome,
Can you?
Diana.
I've got two,
Okay.
like I said, Facebook.
Hi.
Look,
Hi.
I do that one.
Welcome.
There's Facebook. So marriage series.
How are we all doing? Good evening.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Anna.
How are you? How has the week been?
Um, Quite busy actually.
I know.
Been a week full of adventures. How are you? How's your week been?
Oh, the same. Lots of activity. A lot to navigate with all the challenges on LinkedIn and all that. But it's been interesting. Quite interesting.
But you're winning. That's the thing. You are winning. Whether we want to say it or not, we're winning.
Right.
We're actually winning. So
Yeah, we need to do that. So
yes,
that's
which is beautiful, right? We thank God for the small wins
right.
and the big ones too.
And words. Very true. Welcome.
Thank you for the
Okay.
invite to be here.
Yeah. Happy to
I'm
have
still waiting to
you.
find
Well,
out why
okay, there's someone
you
in here. Kifa Allen.
yeah.
Okay. Hi, Kifa. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good
Hi.
evening.
Hello,
Good
how you
evening.
doing?
Hi, Eddie. Look at me. Hi, everybody.
I tell you,
Ah,
you're here, you're in the studio. I'm gonna bring you to events soon enough. So we're
wow.
just working our plan, Facebook, and then for him to speak more. So he's brave, here he is, but he can get his view in good time. It's all
Wow.
right.
Th-
Welcome, Keith. Well done, here.
Thanks.
Cristiano, I'm still waiting to explain
Thanks,
that
Enya. I
phone
managed
call.
to find my way in.
I can just about hear you. Pardon?
Right, that's why I said I'm still waiting to hear from you why you called me the other day with your group call. I hate group calls, but let's worry about that later. Call me
Conversation
and
will be had not on here.
yes, call me and tell me.
Okay. All right. So, any you want to start or do I start?
I'm not starting. You're the host. I'm just here to support you as I always do, right?
All right.
I won't speak.
Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and welcome. I am super excited to have you all here. I know that there are people joining us here from Facebook, from LinkedIn, on YouTube, and thank you so much. Thank you for joining us here live on the marriage series, where we talk about everything marriage, from preparing for marriage, going through the marriage experience, and everything associated with it. It's been over a year of meeting virtually every other weekend, every other Saturday on this platform. We started out as LinkedIn audio, and that was nice. We heard our voices, we didn't see our faces, we saw our pictures, and we had to imagine what was going on behind that. And now we are at this place where we see one another face to face, like face literally to face. And it's just a joy to be able to connect with you in this way. Marriage is a face to face matter, isn't it? So I guess it makes sense for us to get our faces out here. But it's been a joy. I am super grateful to have any. Any has been an amazing support on this platform. I remember it was just, imagine, it's already over a year when Annie said, "Hey, you should start an audio room. Let's start an audio room." And it was just like, okay, let's see how it goes. I did not know that it will be something that would reoccur, that would get this much traction, and here we are today. But we are not alone. We also have amazing guests joining us in the conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about communication in marriage. We know that communication in anything, any organization that makes sense, is going to need. Okay, I think Ramoncella is getting sorted. Okay, so any organization is going to need some degree of communication for things to work out well. You need to be able to communicate your ideas to one another. If you're a leader, you need to communicate to the people following you in whatever organization, much more so in marriage. Everybody needs to be able to communicate. But between husband and wife, there are challenges communicating, and we're going to be discussing those challenges here today. So we have people who have experience in marriage, having been in marriages themselves, but also in different ways that they will express in terms of their careers and how that also bears in on always in on the conversation. So we're very excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Typically, we would introduce ourselves first. So I like to be the last to introduce myself. So I'm going to say, let's start with Annie. Annie, please go ahead, introduce yourself, what you do, what you want us to know about you,
What do
and
I
then we'll
do?
go
I do many
about.
things. I do many things. I'm still,
Okay.
so for those that don't know, I'm Eni Osang. I'm on companies global.media. So essentially, even though we're a marketing agency, I've got a great mission in life to make people famous. That's why when I meet her, I said, let's do events, let's do lives, because she has obviously a unique service that people need. Best way to communicate that is through events like this. So it was audio, as I said to Lou, but now they can see you, now you get even more famous quicker, right? And now that you are streaming to every platform, so I'm streaming to YouTube, Facebook, you're streaming to LinkedIn and other places. I'm saying that's how you get really famous, right? Of course, on top of the events, I want to put people on people's bookshelves, on people's coffee tables. So again, if you meet me, I will tend to say, let's write your book, let's write your story. Christiana's story, right? Yeah. Kiefer, same story. Now, so Tulu is now not all thanks to me. Tulu's got about what? How many books? 12 books? Yeah, and more, I think. 14 books, I tell you. Shame on me, right? So Tulu has written 14 books, and one of those is an anthology with moi. This one you see behind me, that's book there. Lessons we learned from COVID-19. I'm going to get you a real one to show you because I can. Oh, always flash your book around. Always flash your books around, right? That's a book. That's a beautiful book that we've written together. To me and Tulu are part of the 10 authors on the book, telling our stories about COVID and how we have built resilience and how we recovered, how we managed to get through the condition. So that's part of my life. I mentioned my anthology because I love writing group books because it means that you can write a book much quicker and have diverse views. And all my authors become famous as a result of being in the book. That's a dream. So my latest book, my friends, I say as quick as I can, is a health anthology. See, it dawns on me that there are people who survive life-threatening illnesses. So I got a friend who survived cancer, for example. And there are many other illnesses, people survive liver failure, liver transplants, and mental health illnesses that threaten to do all sorts to people. So I want to write a book about those people. I want to hear their stories about how they survived. What helped you survive? Was it focusing on medication? Was it focusing on spirituality? Was it focusing on exercise and healthy eating? Positivity? What? What was your remedy that got you through? So that's the book I'm writing right now. I'm looking for 10 to 15 authors to be in the book. If you're interested, DM me. Let's tell your story. Let's make you famous. Let's make you have a legacy. For when you go, your chapter will still be living in people's hands, people's minds, right? That's what I'm here for. I really want to tell that story because I think a lot of people who experience life-threatening illnesses, they just get left behind. Never, don't mention it. No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you survive. I want to learn how you survive. In case my time comes, I want to survive too, using your strategies, right? That's the way. That's me today, Tulu. I'm looking forward to the fun of our conversation as always. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Annie. And yeah, Annie puts his, do you say puts his money where his mouth is? He gets that done. What he says is true. For example, okay, I'll talk about my own book at the end, right? I said I'll be the last to introduce myself. But he does help people get their books out there and helps you get your message out. So really amazing. Thank you so much, Annie. Next, let's do, of the two guests, let's do ladies first. Christiana, please go ahead and introduce yourself. What you do.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. I am Christiana T. Johnson, and I am miscarriage and baby loss coach. So the work I do is to support women, men, employers, and healthcare practitioners to be able to understand miscarriage. So, for example, the women and men is to help them to gain clarity, confidence, and to learn about self-advocacy and how they can be part of their journey without being spoken at, but to be included in their journey. And to really help them walk through what is life after miscarriage, what's next. For employers, I help them to really understand the employees that they work with and how they can support them, how they can best support them to really get into work and to sustain their jobs. And with the healthcare practitioners, is helping them to understand how they can better care for their patients, especially the outdated language they use, things like incompetent cervix or hostile womb. These are so outdated that they have a negative effect and impact on those that use it. So it's really important that when we are going to these spaces, we show compassion, we show love, we show care, we really get to listen to those that are coming to us from a healthcare practitioner point of view. Last thing I would say, and why things tie into our conversation today, is my biggest thing is doing my best to avoid or to limit the risk of couples who go through this trauma separating or ending up in divorce. So thank you so much for the invite, Tolu. I appreciate being here, and hello to all of you. I yield my mic. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's so true. That's one of the areas where people really need to lean in on healthy communication, where you're going through a tough time. And one tough time, like she has described, is a time when people are going through miscarriage, baby loss. How does a couple navigate that space without good communication between the two of them? So I can imagine how there's a lot that she has to say on this subject. Thank you so much, Christiana. Next, we have, let me pronounce your name right, Kifa
Correct.
Allen.
Correct. Okay. Thank you for the invitation, Tulu, and any most welcome guests. Good evening, and thanks for having me on your platform this evening. My name is Kiefer Allen. I'm a pastor. I've pastored 5 churches. I'm a welder by trade. I've 44 years in the trade. Married for 41 years. I love self-development. I love learning. I like making friends. I like teaching. And what else? I am a workplace representative with the union in the workplace where I work. And I'm here this evening to learn as much as I can. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And especially Annie, thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kifa. Nice to have you on the platform and have you in this discussion. So Eromosele is having some difficulty. I hope he can join us sometime during the program. My name is Tulu Ekwe. I am a marriage and family life coach. I am also a public speaker, and I am passionate about helping people to succeed especially in the family space. I believe that a lot of the problems that we have in society are as a result of failed families, failure in the family space, whether it is parenting or it is marriage or it is even just role modeling, poor role modeling. So if we can have healthier families, if we have healthier homes, we can have a healthier world. And so that's why I'm passionate about helping people to fix things at home. They say charity begins at home. I believe that very much. And so, in that regard, there are several ways in which I support you. How can I support you? If you're going through difficulty in your marriage, you're having difficulty navigating the marriage space, we'll talk about communication today, and you'll see that it's a very important part of the marriage relationship. But I can help you with some tools and with some pointers and some guidance to figure out how to help your marriage to work and to make progress, to go from where you are if you're in a rough space to a better place. I do that through one-on-one coaching, couple counseling as well. And also, there's a book that has become a bit of a tool in preempting some of these discussions. My husband and I wrote this book last year. It's called Raging Waters. You can see it a bit in my background. Sorry, this background thing is not really working out the way I hoped, but that's kind of the book. And thanks to Annie's efforts and a lot of online and offline drama, yeah, there it is. It has become a bestseller, a best-selling. It got the bestseller award in 14 categories on Amazon last year, and that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, yeah. Across 4 different countries, yeah. And that's just been a blessing. It's part of the things that we do. Okay, so I can speak at your events. I can train you on marriage and help you train. And then, of course, I can connect with you as an individual. If you have issues around marriage that you want to navigate, please reach out to me, send me a DM, and let's talk. All right, so now let's go into today's conversation. You see this communication matter. Communication is, and I'm going to just give a bit of background and then we'll go into the discussion, right? Communication is supposed to be the lifeblood of a marriage relationship. Why? Because you have 2 people who are supposed to be working together. Now, my favorite book says, "Can two walk together except if they agree?" To agree, you have to communicate, right? Somebody's going to say something and the other person is going to say, "Yes, I think so too," right? So communication is important. But here's the problem. Many times, the way a man communicates is different from the way a woman communicates. Now, people don't like it when you say things like that because, like, oh, you're doing generalizations, oh, you're stereotyping people. No, it's not about stereotyping people. It's about understanding the nature. It's like saying, typically a dog will bark and typically a cat will meow. I'm not stereotyping them. I'm just saying what it is. Okay. So that's what we find here. And I'll explain using some very simple identifiers. One is what. You know how we use what, where, who, which, what. Okay. So let's start with what. What is referring to the message, what the person wants to say. How does a man differ from a woman in what they want to say? You find that many times a man wants to give the points, the specifics, the details, and he wants to give it in bullet points. If it was possible to describe a man's communication, it would be bullet points. Boom, 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 boom. That's why you have responses like fine for a big, important research question like, how are you? How can the answer to how are you just be one word? Fine. That's a man word. Okay, because a woman, if she's comfortable, of course, I mean, if she's not, she'd probably say fine as well. But if she's comfortable, relaxed, and trusting, it in a trusting relationship, a woman wants to give you the details. She wants to tell you, man, the way I feel right now is because of this and that I would really do with another cup of blah, and I really am just, and he's holding his head. But this is a woman. Typically, we want to give you the details because we're not thinking that you just need that one word. What does fine mean? Fine, is that like texture? Is that like, what is fine? Fine doesn't say much. And I want you to get the picture. By the time I give you the answer to your question, how are you? You know how I am. You feel like you're not me, but you're almost me, It's like you've almost walked in my shoes. So this is the difference. This is one difference in what we say. The what we say typically is much more detailed when a woman is speaking than when it's a man. This thing I just said now, if any was saying it, he'd probably use one or two lines to say it. But you notice I used many more. Same thing. Same thing with, so let's move from what. The next is why. Why do we communicate? Again, you find that there are significant differences. Many times a man communicates to inform. He's telling you because he thinks you need to know. And if he doesn't think you need to know, he wouldn't bother. So he has a really rough day. He's had, trials in the office. His boss is giving him grief. He has this client that is a problem. But he doesn't really think you can fix it or you can help. Or he thinks, hey, you already have your own issues to deal with. I don't need to add to your troubles. So how was your day? Fine. He's not lying. He just doesn't think there's any point to dumping all of that on you. So why? Because he would communicate if he feels that you need to know, to inform you. But since you don't need to know as far as he can see, fine. The woman, on the other hand, does not communicate just to inform. Why does she communicate? Any responses in the chats? Okay. Okay. Men are more logical than women, yeah. Okay.
Can you see your LinkedIn?
Oh, not from there, right? So
If you have to go to a different tab, because I can't see LinkedIn comments. It seems like the event hasn't gone live on LinkedIn yet. I don't know what's going on.
wow. Is that possible?
Yeah. I'm looking at LinkedIn page. It says waiting to start.
How?
On my screen, it says in red, live 23 minutes ago on my page.
Right, it's live.
Okay, all right, you can see it live.
But
But mine says it starts soon.
Mine
Okay,
just-
as long as it's going.
Is it live? It's I can see live.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
All right, and
Let me
I
just
blame
read.
this one.
So, let's repost and say please join in. I don't know. That's strange though.
If it's live on some channels, then it means it's live. So it just these things do happen. So there's not much we can do about it.
I don't know if it's going through LinkedIn Live because mine looks at YouTube. So hold on. So LinkedIn is here. So someone from LinkedIn. So Laverne is on LinkedIn. Yeah, we are live. Laverne's confirmed that we are live on LinkedIn.
Okay, super.
Thank you, Laverne.
That's cool.
Okay. All right. So we're on the why, right? So men, we say connect to inform. And then women, communicate to inform. And then women communicate to connect. To connect. So we're not communicating just to let you know the details that we think you need to know. We're communicating to let you in, to let you feel us, to let you understand and walk with us. We want you in our lives and we want to be in yours. And so that's a big difference. I feel like we could even go into all the others, but yeah, Michelle says we are trying to connect. Laverne gave us a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So CJ, was it? Okay. Yeah. CJ says men are more logical than women. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, and then we now need to look at, so if we're communicating for different reasons and with different goals, why is this important? Why is it important to know this? It will help us to understand one another. If you're with your husband and he's giving you one word responses, and it's not that you're fighting. Like if he normally gives one word responses, then you understand, oh, okay, he's just letting me know what I need to know. And then you can still ask more questions and you may get more details because now he thinks, oh, okay, you need to know that. Okay, fine. And he can give you more. But if you don't understand that and you come expecting your spouse to be communicating with you the way you would communicate in their shoes, there's going to be some friction. There's going to be some difficulty. So I wouldn't go into all of them so that it's not a lecture, it's a discussion, right? So I want to know what your take is so far on what we've said, the what and the why. What do we think? Annie is smiling. Annie, what are you thinking?
I no. Do I agree? No. Welcome, Laverne. Welcome, Michelle. Anyone else who's on my YouTube, do like, comment, and subscribe and all that stuff, right? So when I thought of this earlier, Tulu,
Mhm.
I thought, okay, now she's gonna say the obvious: men shout, women speak softly, men instruct, and blah blah blah. And I was like, no, I don't think it's true. No, that's not true for sure. There's we might speak differently. Yeah, so that's why I was laughing because the how I think I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, it's all right. That's another answer. Would you like this? Go on then. She's like, stop saying go on in. Is it yes or no? I'm like, no, you know what I mean by go on then. So just go on then. It's a yes for all intents and purposes. It could be a no, too, of course.
So
You see, but no, here's the thing I will say. I think when you are communicating with someone on a genuine level, I think you both learn to speak softly in a way the other person understands. It's not for me to shout. I have no interest in I don't shout anyway. I don't raise my voice that high for any reason. No, so I think it's for me and my wife to know what the other one's saying because we just do. Because we talk for so long that we know when something's amiss and we know when we're talking. We know when we're not talking as well. So we're trying to avoid the not talking bits, and trying to just get through our day. Now, I don't know. For me, it's more important to bring humor to our conversations. That's where we tend to live. We laugh more, and then everything else almost fades into insignificance. That's my strategy. I'd love to know what Christian and what Keeper do with our approaches.
especially in terms of detail versus, highlights. What do we
There's
think?
time. There's time for detail. There's time for detail. And like I say, if you ask me the second question and my answer, then that tells you, one, I've got time to talk. Two, that I'm willing to share the details. But most of the time, the details don't really matter. Because I'm not sure whether anyone really cares about the details. You say they do. I guess. No, okay, I have to describe it. There was one time, which sticks in my mind. I went to a restaurant, and the waiter came, and he said, "How are you? How's the food?" The food was bad, awful. I was about to tell him all about it. By the time I started talking, he walked away. I'm like, I'm gonna kill you, I swear. Never ask me again, how are you? That's the way it is most of the time with me. Leave me be. I'm all right, thanks. But if you ask, I will tell you eventually if you ask, and you should, and I know you really care. But I'll leave that for now.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the that's an important point, that you would volunteer the information if you felt that the person cared. So that's talking about the safety of the relationship. Not a lot of people, male or female, and probably, yeah, not a lot of people would want to volunteer their deepest fears, concerns, thoughts in a space that doesn't feel safe. So that's important, that we want to keep our relationships safe for the other person. That makes them
But
more willing to be
I
with
think
us.
that feeling is not. Many people think that once it's a once done deal.
Mm-mm.
No, no, we're married, so we must feel safe with each other, surely.
No.
But I think for me, it's a moment to moment thing.
Yep.
It's what am I doing? What are you doing? What are we thinking? And so on and so forth. So I see Paulette's comments, and the comment says they might see their work as an issue. Like you say, it's not just about me not talking. It's about what I don't want to talk about. I don't want to share my true problems with anyone if I can get away with it. Give me time to solve them, please. That's the mentality. Once it's solved, I might share it with you. Otherwise, no. I'm all right. I'm fine.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Christiana, please share your thoughts.
So I love this conversation. The first thing to say, let me just take us right back, quite a way back from when we are small, right? When we're little, research shows clearly. I was one who put in men are logical, in the comments. That was me. That's from my YouTube page. But when we think about it, let's go right back to when we are boys and girls in the way that we are raised to a certain degree. You know, research also shows this, that boys are more um, in the language when we're smaller. As boys are, they use more of an assertive language. They're very direct in the way that they communicate from a very young age. Girls would want to focus more on building relationship, you know, by using language that is more personable, language that is more soft and softer, and to maintain that relationship in the way they engage, it's very different. As we get older, what happens is our environment, as we start to evolve, our environment changes how we communicate with each other. Fast forward when you're in your 20s, 30s, you get into a relationship, when you meet somebody, right? That continues to be the case. However, when you get into a relationship, it's looking at exactly who the two of you are. How do we communicate, right? But generally, women tend to be um, softer in terms of how they communicate in a relationship, because, as you said earlier, to very, very, clearly, is that we tend to want to connect, right? Both physically and even in marriage relations, people want to connect. You know, I also look at it as when people say, why have you gone down the infidelity line? We're talking about raging waters here. Infidelity line. Women tend to have that connection, emotional connection, whereas for men, they'll say, "Oh, it was just sex." So the way we communicate is so different. And so, for me, it's how you learn to communicate with each other. If that is something you do at the beginning, you can always express that. You can always observe how your husband or your wife is, and it's something you communicate in your relationship. How do I want to be spoken to? How do I want? How do I respond as an individual, and getting to understand that differences. But there is a gap, because from young age, we're taught men are to be masculine, and therefore the way they speak is logical, the way they think is logical, their brain is wired differently. Women are different because they want to connect, they're more emotional. And so our communication patterns are different until we learn different in our relationships. So that's my take for now. I will expand at some point in this conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. Very, very good to look back to the beginning, to how we start out. It's important because many times that helps us to also understand. And you remember that a lot of times boys are raised to think, don't cry, be strong, be a man, and all those things that
Be
become very,
masculine.
be masculine, man up,
Yeah.
you, you know, and so and so you get that training to just keep your innermost thoughts to
Mm.
yourself, just say the bare minimum, and it becomes the norm. And
It's a
then you have,
conditioning.
yes, it's conditioning for many. For many, I think I don't know if it's only conditioning though, but it definitely is. I think it definitely plays a role, because I think part of it too is a trust issue. You know,
Mm.
where boys get to learn to be cautious, to not trust. And so you find that even as grown-ups, they say men like to sit side to side, women like to sit face to face. We want to look you in the eye and see how you're. We don't want to just hear your voice. We want to see the facial expressions, and see your gestures and see everything. It's all part of the communication. But the guy would just rather, let's just keep it safe. So
Yes.
those are all things that start out as children and then we grow up. Kifa, what do you think? What are your thoughts about this?
Yes, Tilly, thank you. Very interesting conversation this evening. And definitely, women do communicate totally different to men. I would say women communicate different to men in a way like how we shop. The what, and the why. We could go to a mall, a big store, and as you say, men have bullet point. I went to get milk, sugar, bread, and maybe a soft drink. That's it. I'm out. Now, the woman, she communicates totally different. She wants to look down every aisle. She wants to see the half prices, what's the sale, and even the things that she didn't thought she wanted in the store, she wants to look at. And that's it. Men get to the point. Women wants to long it out. In a sense, I believe that men, when a man looks at a woman, that's enough communication. He sees, he knows everything. Okay? But when a woman hear a man speak, then he knows who he is. That's my take on the what and the why. Just to know what you want and why you're gone there for it. In a nutshell. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
So do I. So do I. Honestly,
Can I,
honestly,
can I,
that's a
can
man for you.
I, can I add to that what you just said? I completely agree to what you just said, Kifa. The other thing we want to consider is when it comes to men and women, we have been going shop as men as well as women. When we're younger as boys, we go to boys will go shopping out with their mothers, right? And they see how long mom has spent dragging them from shop to shop, from
Yeah.
shop to shop. Girls will do the same thing with their mothers, and it's not the same because we're supposed to be in training, right? For a guy, and a guy takes that into their relationship. I can speak my marriage, for example.
Mm,
My husband's the last of 10,
mm,
okay, and being the last born of 10, he went to shop with his mum a lot
mm.
as a man, so a lot, and that sometimes can really, when they get to a point of marriage and relationship, like, oh my god, I've done this all my life. I'm just gonna be like, I'm not doing this again, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So it's really interesting to see how we are raised and how we bring the way we've been raised into our relationships, and that's the what and the why. So
Mm,
the what is, what can I do now to not be the same that I experienced, and why. The why is, why am I this way? And it's having to get into a relationship to have those conversations to be able to say, actually, this is my experience growing up as a man in this relationship. These are the things I would not like to do. So I'm not going to go into shop with you for hours and be dragged from shop to shop. I've already had that done. I've got the t-shirt, won it. Let's look at other ways to do things. So yes, thank you. I just was thinking of what
And,
you were saying
and
there.
because now we have a choice, right?
Yes, exactly.
Give her as much money as she wants. Let's go alone.
Yes, we're not. I mean, men are not concerned with the details, at all. They just want to know. When I go to my husband for certain things, it's the figures. Are the figures this? Yeah, boom, done. If it's not, I don't want details. Just want to see the numbers. So we think so differently sometimes from the way we've been raised.
See, I will say to Lou as well, to build on Christiana's point, I think people have the triggers, and I don't know whether that's men and women. I think men and women, I can't just blame them. I say women have the triggers too. There's things that trigger people that you take them back to a moment in time. Either you like it or you hate it. And if it was a trauma, then it's going to be a trauma now. It's going to be even more of a trauma now. And the other person will probably would never understand why you feel that way about. It's not just tone of voice. I'm thinking, if there's a house that's chaotic, put it that way, a house that has, anger as the way we grow up, for example. No, it just takes a question, even just a look, to trigger someone into thinking, "Oh, I'm back there again," and suddenly their response is totally illogical. Totally, they fly off the handle. You're like, "What the hell did I ask you? How are you?" Now you're shouting and screaming and running around the house like a lunatic. So I'm saying, I think we have to be aware not to trigger people, the person, our other half, basically. If we do, then maybe we have to learn the triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it comes back to the fundamental question of what we're talking about today. Will I tell you my triggers? Will you tell me yours? More chance of women, my wife will tell me hers than me tell her mine. Because I'm fine, remember? It's all of that, it's all mixing one. It's a minefield. But again, the answer is always communicating. Talking is always the answer. You have to find a way to talk, regardless.
Yeah, I think.
But also it's knowing whether or not you understand, know, or are aware of your own triggers, because sometimes that's an issue in itself when you're not you're not aware of the triggers, but the emotion comes out and clearly it's a trigger for you, but you don't know that that's a trigger for you, and that in a relationship can start things like arguments in a relationship or heated discussions because one person's aware of it, the other person isn't aware of it also. The other thing with communication, I can go back to me and my marriage too. I'm the first of 6, right? My husband's the last of 10, and therefore the way we communicate is slightly different. I'm used to being the responsible one who literally has responsibilities and so on, looking after younger siblings growing up. So there are things that I will see and notice and pick up and talk about that perhaps he's not aware because he was the last born, because he's the last born. So again, when you go into relationships, it's those simple things that we don't realize or take for granted matters a lot in our relationship. And do we start to have the conversation to communicate that? That's why it's really important. If you're going into a relationship, as you begin, have those conversations, learn to have the difficult conversations because sometimes they can be what gives you that longevity in your relationship or your marriage.
Oh, beautiful. Well said. Well said. I do think that when it comes to triggers, right, and figure them out. The more we communicate, like Annie was suggesting, I think that the more we communicate, the easier it is to identify them, and we can help one another identify them. Sometimes you just notice that something, or something is a thorny issue, or there are certain things that just make a person behave a certain way that can now lead you to ask questions around it without necessarily hitting it directly, and you can find out from your spouse, oh, this is where this is coming from. Is it possible that this is, we can help one another sort through some of these things if the more comfortable we are with our communication. But understanding these reasons why we communicate, the ways in which we communicate, will help us understand how to approach one another to get the best out of the communication. I think that's where we're trying to go with this. Okay, so let's look at another angle.
Could
Okay, let's look
also
at your comments. Okay, somebody
Tulu,
wants to. Please go ahead.
could I just say you're talking about triggers?
Mhm.
I think at this point, that's why it's vitally important for couples to know each other.
Mhm.
In our culture, um, a woman can speak loud and clear without saying anything. The way she gave you your dinner, you know something is wrong. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
she didn't say a word, but the trigger's there. You triggered something. You forgot to put the bin out. You didn't say good morning. You didn't say hello, darling. But it's simply as a trigger. And sometimes a woman speak without even opening their mouth. Okay,
True,
thank you.
true, say true.
True, but I want to say before we go too far, right, that it also works both ways. Sometimes it's men that also don't, especially in situations where they don't feel safe, where they found that, look, if I say one sentence, I'm going to get a response that has 10, and
Mm,
it's not going to be good. You know, many times it's easier for women to synthesize those words. They just come, they flow more readily. And so if a man feels like, look, if it's a battle of words, I'm just going to lose, I'm not going to bother, you may find that he'll find other ways to communicate. And sometimes they're not very healthy. So you can
walk
find
away.
it.
Just walk away.
Well, you can find the walk away approach or the, just
Honestly, you might find
aggressive.
yourself locked out when you get back.
What
find
did
yourself
you
find yourself locked out when you get back.
say?
That's the
Yeah,
other
Oh my
one.
goodness.
you
So
walk away.
yeah, so these we laugh at these things, but these
Is it
things really
serious?
cause a lot
Mhm.
of for couples. Yeah, because especially if you don't understand where it's coming from, then you don't even know what you're dealing with. You just find this random behavior. Why is this person behaving like this? Something is wrong. Have they lost their minds? But if we understand why some of these things happen, we may begin to see, oh, so this is why. So maybe if I change this, so maybe if I slow down, you find that sometimes we have to, in counseling, you have to help some women see that, okay, not every thought that comes to your mind should be said in that moment, in the way that you're feeling it. Because while you're saying it and getting it off your chest, you're dumping this heavy load on this other person who doesn't really know how to express it as freely and may not find it as easy to take it off the way you do. So you find that you now have to find ways to understand that communication is not just talking. Talking is only one aspect of communication. It's the easiest one because it's the first one. Most communication starts there. But then if you talk, somebody has to listen. That's the other part. That's another part. When the person listens, what they hear may be very different from what you say. So they have to understand what you're saying. And the only way to know that they did understand it is to get their feedback. They say, so is this what you're saying? Or, okay, I think this is what you're saying. And as a result, this is what I'm trying to say. And then you can say, oh, no, no, that's not what I was saying. And then you can fix it. So communication is so important and we have to find ways to do it. We're talking about this because we have two different people. It should be easy. Two ladies, you just tell them, hey, guys, I'm leaving you guys here for 30 minutes. You guys talk, okay? I'll see you later. That should be easy. They'll both be speaking the same language. Or if it's guys, two guys, you know what? Guys talk, they'll probably talk about the weather, talk about sports, and talk about some very non-detailed things and laugh a bit and banter and go. And nobody would know what they're really going through. But we have to help one another to see, no, no, no. We need more communication, but we need better quality communication. It's not about more words, it's about better connection both ways. Okay.
Hmm.
Any is somehow not. Okay, let me help you with that.
I do agree that I think communication, one big thing is, like you mentioned, Keitha, is the body language. Even before
Mm,
we speak, the body language has so much to play,
Mm,
so much to we don't realize how much we communicate with our bodies more than words. By the time the
mm,
words come, it's a little bit like when we're unwell, you're sick. When we get a headache, it's not when we've become ill. That headache or that trigger or the cause of the headache has been there. The headache
Mhm.
is a final sign to let us know that something is really wrong, whether we're dehydrated, whether we're hungry, whether we're stressed, or whatever it is. That manifestation of a headache is the end result. The same thing with communication. We communicate with our bodies even before the words come out, whether it's our shoulders, or our face, or our neck, or our eyes. I know when I was growing up, my grandmother used to communicate, and I watched my grandparents communicate. My grandmother herself communicated more with her eyes, her
That's
eyes,
right.
and
That's
her
right.
body. She would not even need to speak to you, or even to my grandfather, my late grandfather, you know and it was just the way that she would do something, and he would understand what she was saying or what she wanted or what she needed, especially when we had guests in the house, right? That look, that body language, that turn, that hand, whatever it was that she needed to do, you would do what you somehow you just you
You
would
know
know
what she means.
exactly what she means and where she's going with that
Mhm.
conversation, and you would go and do and come back to like, oh my goodness. The same thing with in their marriage. So we communicate with our body languages even before the words come out sometimes.
Well said. Well said. So with body language, that's in fact the weapon of passive aggression. Oh, it's a
Mm.
very good weapon.
Mm.
Just you
Yep.
just can't quote it. You can't repeat it to someone else and say, you know what, this is what
This is
she
what it
said
looks
to me.
like.
That's what it
Mm.
looks like. You can't, but it's there, and you know it's there, and it hits. It hits really hard. So if that's the goal of your marriage and you're trying to ensure that you wound one another, then oh yeah, go ahead, do it. But that shouldn't be the goal. We shouldn't be wanting to hurt one another. We should be trying to build one another up and help one another. And so we need to find ways to communicate nicely, even with our body language, with our tone of voice, with
Mm.
our facial
Absolutely.
expressions,
Yeah.
with all, yes, not just
I
the
So
word.
what I
think
meant
Jake
in
and Cristiano.
I was going to say what I meant was with that conversation for us, it wasn't always, it wasn't negative. It was just how you communicated, if that makes
Mm,
sense. So, for example, if you had guests in the house, right, and you wanted us to go and get something, or wanted my grandfather to go and get something for my grandmother, it's okay. The eyes will tell you, a drink or something. You just know what the conversation meant. For me, that is something that I believe does work in a positive way. When it's a positive, communication, then it does work. The negative one does not work.
Because
very true.
sometimes it's embarrassing. It's because sometimes, as you say, we may have guests, and you're sitting down having a good chat with the guests, and the wife doing the cooking, fetching and carrying, trying to make them comfortable, and she comes every time she comes in, she's giving you the eye. Mm.
So
Because she feels that she's doing everything,
true.
and she's
Just,
just
just
trying
do the right
she's just
thing.
trying
Don't
to get your
argue.
attention
Don't
to
ask a
say,
question.
"Are
Don't
your
ask me
guests? Are your
why.
guests here tonight?"
Again. Look, there's sometimes just to add, I think sometimes familiarity can breed what looks like contempt.
Mm.
Hmm.
Resentment too,
Where
yes.
I'm as guilty. I mentioned the shit, the waiter who walked away. So many of us think we know what the other person is going to say before they say it half the time. I think there's a men and women thing. I think when I say, I think it's a men and women thing. So and I do it quite a lot. Like we almost like trying to fill in the other person's words before they finish a sentence. Where because we know them so well, we feel like we know what they're gonna say. They're gonna say it yet again. By now we're reacting already. We're not listening. We are reacting. Whether we want to get defensive, whether we want to but essentially we don't listen enough. I think I saw Michelle's point earlier. It is about listening, communicate more than anything else, really. I think we don't give ourselves that time half the time.
I must apologize. I think I did something wrong with the LinkedIn event. I'm not sure what happened,
It's working
but
for some, it's working for some. So if Bianca is here, just Paulette's here. She's talking from LinkedIn. Laverne was here earlier. She's still here. I'm sure
Yeah.
talking from LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine's not alive, but no, it's not because you did something wrong to lose. Just tech is tech, right? When tech works, it works. When it doesn't work, you
Okay.
can have in trouble. Well, there are people here from LinkedIn, so what can we say?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle. I see you very, very active in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Michael's
Trust.
here
Yeah.
as well.
That way.
Michael,
Yeah.
we see.
I see you too. Thank you so much. Welcome. Welcome, Laverne. Women need details. Absolutely. We don't know, we give details and we need details. So you see, we're very fair. It's balanced.
Yes, we are.
I'm thinking, get the details from somewhere else. Don't ask me. Watch TV, you get the details, right?
No.
No.
TV.
No.
We just TV. We married you. So yeah. So that's it's a very important thing to understand. You know why we connect, why we communicate.
Hold on, no, but hold on, really, ladies. Let me ask you a genuine question.
Mhm,
Seriously, now. So you and I, husband comes home from work.
mhm.
Yeah. How are you, darling? And he starts giving you his whole day, minute by minute. What would you say, really? Would you
Okay. So
look
here's
uncomfortable?
no, no.
Or would
Let's
you
get
be
it.
like, that's not normal. I'm not listening to this.
So
Take on to what you thinking.
it's not about the details necessarily only of what happened, but how did you feel about it? How did it affect you? What are your thoughts? It helps one to understand how you arrive at. So in the evening, you're grumpy. Why are you grumpy? We're not asking you to say at 8:01 this morning, this happened, and then at 8:05 that happened. And then at no, that's not the details. It's I started out my day really thinking I was going to have a fantastic day. You know, I had all this lined up. I was going to make this presentation and blah and blah. And then my secretary comes in, and would you believe this is what happens? And then this happens. And then it went downhill from there. And right now, I haven't had a meal. I'm this, I'm that. So now we understand, oh, the journey from this happy man in the morning to this grumpy man is, oh, I get it. This is where, and then we now know where to come in. That's the kind of detail we're talking about.
Yes.
Right? Am I speaking for us?
Yeah.
Christine?
Yes. Yes.
Sometime. Oh, carry on.
So sorry. So yes, I agree. The one thing I've learned in mine is, you know, when my husband walks through the door, I give him that time to debrief, because he may not necessarily want to have a conversation in that moment as he walks through the door. The first thing he's looking for when he walks through the door is coffee. And I'm somebody who's got my husband from drinking 7 cups of coffee a day to about 3, 4 now,
Ooh,
right?
congratulations.
Right. So he needs something, whether it's a coffee or a squash, something, because as he's been out all day, he's dealing with clients, he's relocating people at work, and that conversation that he's gone for 12 hours straight with nothing to eat sometimes. And it's really important that when he comes to the door, I'm not pouring out boom, everything. I'm not trying to get everything out of him. When that's done and he's sitting down, dinner, food, everything is done, our conversation takes place. Well, so the first is, how was your day? Oh, it was okay. And don't get me wrong, in your own marriage, you can do what works for you.
Mhm.
We've learned to make that our story, our journey, and how
You're
things
welcome.
are.
Yeah.
Exactly. We communicate that. That's become our tradition,
Yeah.
right? But it didn't begin that way. We had to really communicate that and communicate how we communicate. If you know, so it's really important. Yes, ask the question. And there are times I will get the lowdown, but I have to see the face first, what the face is looking like before I ask that question. Is the face tired, happy, hungry, long day, stressed? You know, is the vein popping out of his head or is it not? Before that conversation, that question comes out, or I tailor the kind of question I'm going to ask. Not how was your day?
Hmm.
It's would you like something to eat, or would you? It just depends on what
Yeah.
the face tells me, or the body
Mm.
language. Body language is really important. What is it telling me, right? Before I go in. So each person works differently in their own relationship.
Right. Right. So that's a way in which you've found a way to communicate that works for you. And part of it is you're reading the body language. Now, a lot of people don't even get that. Like, they don't even know how to read the body language of spouse. Or yeah, so when your communication has been reduced just to verbal communication, then maybe you've lost some things and you need to really try to study one another and understand one another. Because sometimes it's just a look in the eyes. Sometimes it's not even a facial expression, it's just a look in the eyes. It's just something. So we need to study one another. And that's why marriage for me is very interesting and very exciting. It's that you never get through with studying your spouse. It's something you just keep doing and you keep learning because they also keep growing, right? And keep changing. So just because you understood them yesterday doesn't mean you've mastered them. You can move on to other things. Their upgrade is still coming. Tomorrow they're going to be a bit different, and you get to still study them and get to know them, and yeah, and get to walk with them. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that. Could I interject, Tulu?
Yes, please, please go
That
ahead.
one of the mistake we often make as men sometimes is when our wife says, "Well, how's your day?" And
Hmm.
you want to say how much sale you made, how much money you made, who you met, but one thing we failed to do. Oh, I missed you today, darling. I thought about you today, darling. And that's what a wife wants to hear. She don't necessarily want to know how many people you've met and where you've been and what you've done. She wants to know, did you think about me today? And
Right.
I agree wholeheartedly.
and
That's
if you
what that's
don't,
what I
and
say
if you
to.
fail to mention that, then you're rude. I don't hear.
Again,
And
all
you
the
told you made
details
£1 million,
don't
and
matter.
it
The
didn't
details
matter.
doesn't
It
want to
didn't
hear the
matter
details.
because
Want to
was
hear about her and you and what right.
exactly.
I agree. I agree entirely. Maybe we're totally wrong, but I'm saying it's what's kept us married, right? No,
You're gonna
Very.
read. You're gonna read the
it
room.
goes nowhere. It doesn't get us. It doesn't
You
get
gotta
far.
read the room.
Read the room. It's true.
It's true. It's true. It is definitely part of why. So you see, for her, she's asking how your day is going, partly to know, but also yes, she wants to know that she featured, that she's important, and that she counts. And he has understood that. Now, that's not true for everybody. Not everybody is asking because that's what they want to know.
Mm,
That
mm,
is a function now of her love language.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
And
and
we've talked
I
about
Yes.
going back
this
to the
before.
point. The point you just made
Right.
just now, you're saying that tomorrow may be different.
Right.
Like next half an hour later, it could be different. I'm saying it's about learning how your partner communicates. It's about
Mhm.
learning what they really want to hear.
Mm.
And it's about learning what they're really asking when they say, "How are you? How's your
Mm.
day?"
Mhm.
And then I know, if I don't say, "How was your day, darling?" then I'm only going to get slaughtered. Whatever happened to my day? That's you turn into you didn't ask, you don't care, and only the dogs care. It's all gone wrong.
That is so true. Can I also add this as well?
Yeah.
So I know generations again. We're looking at generational the gap between for me generations. So nowadays we have things like smartphones, you know,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's not when they walk through the door. It's through a text message, through a WhatsApp message to let them know that you are thinking about them, or you can message each other. So when they're walking through the door, that question doesn't happen. It doesn't because in the mind it's like, well, I messaged you today, I told you exactly how I was thinking or that I was thinking about you. So it isn't set. But sometimes some people want to hear those words in person and to your face, on arrival. But sometimes it is said when you message your back. It just depends on what your tradition is or what you're so used to doing in your relationships. That's just my, contribution.
Mm. Mm. Very, very valid. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christiana. So you see, there's a lot involved. There's no cut and dried. It's not a one size fits all thing, but we do need to understand those differences. I'll tell you something that I was going to mention earlier. When we're talking of shopping, and the fact that, so it seems typical from the conversation that the women are the ones who love to shop and would love to spend all the time in the market. In my marriage, it's the opposite.
Really?
Mhm. I go to the, like, if I know that there are 50 aisles and that what I'm looking for is on aisle number 20, I'm looking for aisle number 20. I go straight for that thing, I pick it up, and I'm out. Then I start getting questions like, so do you know if they now have the blah and blah? I don't know. I didn't go for blah and blah. I went for what I went for, and I'm out.
That's different. That's
That's
very different,
different,
Tolu.
right?
No, that's very strange.
No, it's not.
It is.
I'm
It's
strange
not.
like that. Yeah, but the funny thing is, my husband loves to shop. Like he could know that, look, I don't have the money right now for this thing, but I don't understand going to the market to look for something that I know I don't have the money for. Like, if I don't, then what's the point? I'll go when I think I have around the money or something. He would go just to see first. So the window shopping, just to see the different types. Oh, really? There's this one, or there's that one, and all that. I don't know why. There's not a muscle in me that understands window shopping. Like, I don't know. But most women that I have encountered love to window shop. Like, shopping is just a, I don't know, a mood
It's a
booster,
career.
something.
It's a
Ah,
career. It's everything.
so
No,
no.
no,
So people
no.
are the point is, people are different, and not everything that we've said about men today would be true for all men, or not
True.
everything that we've said about women would be true for all women. But we're just saying that those differences tend to happen. I am a person of faith. I believe strongly that God puts those differences to teach us that there are other perspectives to life. Otherwise, we'll have these very selfish viewpoints where it's just my way or the highway. But somebody else has a different way of looking at things, and you now learn to walk with this person and see things through their eyes and realize, oh, okay, my way is not the only way there is, And if you're an impatient person, you learn patience because you're working with somebody who's going to teach you patience one way or the other. If you're quick tempered, you will learn to slow that temper down because you will either blow a gasket or you will have to learn to calm down some way or the other. Life with this person would teach you to become ultimately a better person. I think that's part of what this is really all about. Learning to listen when you're a person who, you can imagine, a bullet point person. You want 4 words to describe something, and somebody's giving you 40. Like, ugh, get to it already. And you're going to have to learn to breathe in and breathe out and get the the gist, the juice out of all of that. Yeah. And then the woman too needs to learn to summarize. I had to learn to summarize because I would watch my husband and I would watch his eyes kind of glaze over. Like, I would see it. I would see when I'm losing him. I'm like, "Ugh, come back." You know? So I had to learn to keep it shorter to get the points out. So yeah. So we learn and we become better. I think that's part of the goal. Okay.
My
So
apologies.
The past me thinks it's just about being present when you're talking to the other half.
mhm.
So it took me a while, so many years to be honest, to learn not to have no. Don't start the conversation if you are bogged down with many things in your mind. If I'm gonna leave my office, I leave my office stuff behind. I
Mm,
go down and say, well, there's my kids, well, there's the dogs, well, there's my. Literally, I will talk to those who are there with attention rather than being in a hurry. No, I want to get
mm,
this over and done with quickly, and I actually want to talk. If I'm going to talk, if I'm going to have a conversation with you, let's have a conversation. Now, let's not have a passing bullet points list. Are you with me? Let's not have a shallow conversation. We're going to talk properly. Let's talk properly. If it's not time to
mhm.
talk, let's at least
Fine.
no, let's talk if we're going to talk. But I have to be present. I can't be somewhere else in my mind, thinking of other things, and wish I was somewhere else. when I'm talking to someone. That just ruins the whole thing, because no one wins when that happens.
Right.
Worse than you're probably going to annoy the other half without for being uncaring and maybe not reacting appropriately to the conversation that you're having, because you're so full of yourself and your issues. Again, as Paulette mentioned, that there's something that some of this goes back to what goes on in our normal day at home. Some people let issues dwell, and then when that becomes, if you have unresolved issues, it's how to have a conversation that's new, to speak, because you're still stuck there in that last conversation that was unresolved. It's just some
Right.
thoughts. Lisa, I see you. Welcome, Dr. Roxana. Welcome. I finally found a way to send you the proper link for LinkedIn, so I'm glad you're all here now. Many more people. Lois, will see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Olawumi, I see you as well.
I have sorry. My little one is wanting to come and show himself. Annie, your nephew is wanting to come on screen.
Bring him.
No. No.
Yeah.
Hand over to daddy. Daddy's trying to keep him away. But yes, no.
All right. So about this matter of when, that's the next one. And I think Annie just kind of led us in there. When to talk. Many times when a woman has a pressing issue, she wants to talk about it, and she wants to talk about it now. And many times, in fact, I remember early in marriage, it used to frustrate me. I'd come with this whole, it's a burning issue. I really have to get it out there. So I'm like, listen, we need to talk. He's like, okay, what is it? And then I go, blah and blah and this and that and that and that and the other. And, sequence, I feel like I've laid down the whole thing. It's very clear. Everything should just be easy to address. And he goes, okay. And then I'm waiting. Okay, what? And it turns out he needs to process it, and he needs to think about it, and he needs to make a decision. But then if you don't tell me that, it just seems like you're so rude. And so what is that? I just gave you this whole, I just gave you my access to the keys that, the whole cabinet, opened everything and just said, hey, this is it. And then you just, okay, and what?
Okay.
What? What is that?
You give verse and chapter, you're expecting at least half of that back, right?
I had to tell him, please, next time, because we had to talk about it. I thought it was rudeness. I thought it was just unfair. Like, how can you do that? And then much later, sometimes maybe a whole day later, he'd say, yeah, about that thing, and then he would now address it. I thought he was the strangest creature there was. But it took us time to walk through those things and now understand, oh, okay, so could you just tell me, okay, you know what, I'm thinking about it, I'll get back to you. It really helps. Just that little bit really makes a world of difference, because if you don't say that, I'm left to guess. And when there are vacuums, we fill them, and we fill them with the worst possible things. We make assumptions, we draw conclusions, we have fights in our heads. By the time we now express them, the other person is completely confused. Like, how did we get here? Okay, so we can avoid some of those things by simply communicating better. That's the point I'm making. So when to talk? What do you think about when to talk?
I think in some case, it's a good time when to talk is when you get in bed. But she wants to talk, but he doesn't want to talk. But the woman is very smart. You're not getting fed until you listen to me. So she chooses the
I'm liking your wife already. You really like her.
Appropriate time to speak to you. That way you have to listen. Or just go to sleep.
Right.
So, given that we're going here,
when you come from work, surely you can say how your day was, blah 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 blah. But a real conversation when it's bedtime, because a woman knows that at this point I'm in charge. There's nowhere to run to. You either listen or you don't. But I've got the floor here. So you tend to either you just turn over and fall asleep or you listen. When that's a when. And men, we want to talk when we achieve something good. We want to say, I won. My team won today. Got promoted today. The boss was so proud of my job today. And then sometime, as you said earlier, she goes, she goes, and you think, well, and there you go. He goes in a huff and a puff. So they went at bedtime now. Guess what? He turned over. He didn't even say good night because you had to say,
Oh my goodness. Interesting
So,
perspective. Wow.
yeah. So the when is crazy. It happens, but I guess knowing each other and the way women and men are wired, I guess we have ways of speaking loud and clear, and we even have time to strong arm each other that you have to listen. It makes you want to listen without the one word yes. Okay, you have to respond. But as I say, as Christiana mentioned, the mobile age now, it's bad because you could be sitting in a room with he and she,
Yeah.
you and him, and she's going, "Whoa, darling, did you see that? Did you hear that?" And you there,
Mm.
yeah, and you ain't heard a thing because that's the age we live in now. But as you say, Tulu, the communication today, we need to get back to that place where we actually concerned that we show empathy and we care and that we're listening. Yes, we live in a crazy world where busy, busy, busy all the time, and when you're tired, the last thing you want is blah 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 blah. You just want to be, chill. Yeah, but it's understanding each other's need
Yeah.
without hurting each other, because we do.
Mm-hmm.
And as especially ladies, they hurt without even opening them out. They don't have to open them out to hurt a man's feeling. Just turn over.
I'm trying to talk to my wife when she wants to go to sleep. No, nothing's gonna work. She's going to sleep. You see,
Yeah, that's
go
not
on.
necessarily hostile, right? That's
No,
just
no, 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 no. I know better. There's earlier time to talk to her. There's time to talk to her. Times not to. When she wants her beauty sleep, matey, nothing's gonna stop that. If I try and get away, it's still gonna be a no, right? That's just how it is. So welcome, Michelle Ramos. I'm glad you're here. Better late than never, that's for sure.
Oh wow,
So
Michelle's
that's
here.
it. I see Rakesh. No, she's here. I just seen her on my YouTube. Rakesh, welcome as well. I love all my YouTube friends. So glad, if you're on my YouTube, I love you more because it means you're doing my watch hours a beauty. Keep watching on YouTube and make sure you like and subscribe and comment on today's video and other videos too. Don't be shy and come
I
back and
was
do it.
I was going to say that sometimes that you said Kiefer earlier, turning around. There are so many different levels of turning.
Right.
There's layers. There's layers, right? There's the positive turn and there's a negative turn. You just gotta know which one is which.
Right. I hear you.
There's just different layers of turning, but that's why it's about speaking. Ultimately, it's about speaking. We may want to do a body language one, but open the mouth and speak so you're not misconstrued, so you don't misunderstand, so you don't fill the gap with so many things that goes through, especially for us, but it's actually for both men and women. You don't fill the gap with whatever it is that it isn't actually that it isn't
Happening, yeah.
that it's happening. It's about just having that conversation and saying, hey, for me, I have to stop and say, do we have time for conversation? When are you free? Might be pressing, and when are you free? It's in the next 24 hours. So, where we need to serve, I think it's really important. Like I said, in every single person's and relationship is so different. How you
Right.
choose to, um, and again, sometimes it's going back to what I mentioned earlier. It's also traditions of watching those that have come before us and how they did, you know,
By their
and how you're
cultures.
modeling yours on theirs and the cultures and what we see or deem as culture. And nowadays, people are choosing to choose whether culture comes in. Do they carry culture along with them, or do they drop some culture and pick up some? Now that's really, again, you can communicate that in the relationship and just say, that's not going to work for me. That does.
Mm.
Um, and being firm as well. The other thing is sometimes we have situations where we may not be wanting to be just disrespectful or standing up for our partners or our husbands or our wives, is having to be strong enough to stand and say, that's not going to work for me. Be very clear. And I believe that both men and women could be assertive, you know, in the relationship, in the communication, because it means that when you are assertive, that person knows exactly where they stand. And that's a learning opportunity for them, because I'm like, okay, this is how they reacted, this is how she or he reacted. Now I know, mental note, I wouldn't be doing something like that again, right? After you mentioned, you can both have a conversation if that wasn't right, or have a conversation and say, okay, how do we move forward? What is better for you? How would you like me to address this or say this to you? And you move forward knowing what each other is thinking and how you would like to be treated in your relationship. But yes.
Yeah, so this is all important and is part of communication. But you notice that communication doesn't stand alone. It has to be the what gives us the basis for communicating these ideas and these thoughts that we've expressed is the foundation of a loving, healthy relationship. Because anything you say in a war zone will be seen as an act of war. Anything you so if the relationship is not healthy, then we have to deal with that to help us so that we're not saying, it's hot out there, and the other person is hearing, okay, there's fire on the mountain. That's not what I said. I just said it's hot out there. So we need to, it means there's something fundamentally wrong with the relationship. So communication is very important as the fuel to help a healthy relationship to continue to stay healthy and to continue to bloom and blossom. But if it is placed in a toxic environment, it's just going to be distorted and messed up and misunderstood and would not achieve the desired goals. So I think those are very important things to note. It's been really quite an interesting conversation. Let me just go to
I agree. I agree with you entirely
okay.
on resolve issues and create a decent relationship as a platform for communicating. I'm just wondering, as I see in Michelle, or I think it's Lois has put in, you could send each other a WhatsApp that is communicating too. No, I wonder what you think. I'm not. I don't know. I send my wife a WhatsApp if something funny. We're not in the same house. If we're both out, that's something. If we're both in the same house, I will look at that WhatsApp and think, what's gone wrong? What? Well, even a text message, so whatever you call it, I will look at it and think, what? You open the door and shout. How are you? That's a
Right.
simple conversation.
Age we're living in
What do you
today,
mean?
brother.
That's only WhatsApp. No. I wonder what your take is.
I completely agree. The thing is, we settle for bare minimum. The relationship between you and your spouse should be prioritized. It should be, you shouldn't treat it as one of the many things, I'm going to have 5 million conversations today. Oh yeah, you'd be number 4,900,000 and no. Your spouse is very important. You're building your lives together. Of all the people that you talk to in the day, this person should be the most important. Well, apart from God, apart from, you know what I mean? This is a very important person. This is the person you're sharing your life with. So I think that text messages, WhatsApp messages should be extra. They shouldn't be the mainstay of your communication at all. So I send voice notes to my husband, or send him something funny. I receive something funny, I send it to him because I think he would laugh. But the main conversations, I'm going to make a call. I'm going to call you. I'm going to, because because the communication is not just the words, remember. It's the tone of voice, it's the connection, it's everything. It's the sigh in the middle of two sentences. It's so much more than just getting your message out there. It's not. Let's not be so efficient that we are not effective in our relationships, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's prioritize. I think we should prioritize talking. I like what Annie said. Open the door and shout. Let me hear your voice. Send me a text in the house, in the same house. Having said that, there was a time when we had what I considered a sensitive matter. I wanted to discuss with him something that I felt, and I think I've mentioned this once, I don't know, something that I felt was sensitive. It had to do with his family, and relating with in-laws. I wanted him to address something, but I felt like it could be misunderstood. I also felt like every time I tried to broach the subject, I didn't really like the look in his eyes. And because I didn't like the look, I would hold back. I wouldn't say it how I wanted to say it. I didn't get the message out. So I did something very unusual. Living in the same house under the same roof, I wrote him a letter. That letter, I mean, I wouldn't
Awesome.
advocate writing letters to one another, except, I mean, maybe it's love notes you guys want to, I don't know. But I did that because out of necessity, I felt like I need you to understand this. I need to get it all out. I need to not be hampered by the look in your eyes. And I need you to address this issue and get the full picture of what I'm trying to say. And so I wrote, and writing, what it helped me do was express the ideas. I could reread it, decide, no, this is not what I'm trying to say, or this could be misunderstood. Let me rephrase it, let me paraphrase. And then when I was sure this is exactly what I wanted to say, I rewrote it neatly and I gave it to him. This is in 21 years of marriage. I've only done that once. So this is not a regular communication method. It's just something that, yeah, you use when you don't have
If I
any
wrote
other.
to my wife, she'll know it must be bad. It must be really seriously bad,
When you're
beyond
leaving.
words bad.
See, I have a different take on that.
Okay.
So, if it's something that you are both used to doing, and you do it, and you've mentioned only once in 21 years, if you are somebody who used to write each other and have sort of, back in the day, people used to put pen, touchy paper, and write letters back and forth, and that was a way of that you're used to communicating that way, and you do that, I believe that's okay
No, it's fine.
because you've been able to communicate. That's your way of communicating. And so, for example, when my husband and I met, we were at university, you know, lovebirds, so to speak, and we lived apart, right? We were 150 miles apart. And it wasn't time when people were having phones, or we used to write letters to each other every week, right? We send letter by post every week, over the summer holidays especially. And so when it came to communicating something that was, and I've done this myself too once in my marriage, that you need to really pour out and kind of explain and express something. I think that's totally fine to do that because of the meaning it has, and because you're so used to, you've been so used to doing, that's how you started your relationship to begin with. I think that's okay to do, but I wouldn't, yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I agree with you. But you notice what you did was because you were in different places. You had to write because you were not in the same space. Now,
Mm.
if you're in the same space as husband and wife, and rather than I'm here with you in the room, and rather than talk to you, you look under the pillow and there's a letter from me, and then you and then you write,
Bring
and
me
then
back.
I check under the, yeah, I check in the middle of my book. Oh, there's a letter from you. I don't know, but I think that's I think that's weird. But yeah, we did that too, right? Like we had a whole during his what in Nigeria we have what we call youth service, national youth service.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, I know.
it was a way. he was away for a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And in that year, actually, he wrote me 120 something letters. I wrote him 80 something letters. We still have those letters today. Yes,
Same
Emily.
here. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
Emily,
yes.
we did. And it's amazing, yeah, because and those letters were profound because we were pouring our hearts out, but we didn't have the option of picking up a phone. We didn't have cell phones at the time.
No,
My
no.
kids see my kids say we dated in the olden days. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just-
Do you know something? I think that there's an art there that is lost. It's a dying
Oh,
art.
that's
It's
not
so
gonna be
important.
roots.
Any listen,
No,
it's a dying art. It's such a beautiful thing
it's
to
don't
so
write me a
write
letter,
letters and
Christiana.
to
Don't write me
pour
a letter.
hearts
Call me,
out. Yes,
Christiana.
tomorrow. It
Call
won't be a love
me.
letter, it will be a
Don't write
letter.
me a letter. I don't want to know.
I'm gonna write it
and you
tomorrow.
hear her out. No, hear her out.
I
Yeah.
agree with Annie
But the
as
thing
well.
about it, but
We
the thing
don't
about
write letters. We sit you down. We say, "Come here, darling. I've got something to say to you." Switch the TV off.
Ah,
Switch
if
the
you
you
camera off.
you are
I
you
miles
want to
with
say
your
apart,
something to you.
5 words.
No pen and
okay.
paper.
Okay, my
With
question
your
to you, if you're miles apart,
It's a
how can you say
woman
come
thing,
and
I
say
think.
darling? No, it isn't. I think I've also met guys who've written. For us, it was an essential thing to do because we were so far apart from each other.
Right,
And we
exactly.
got together. That was something that continued because not necessarily kind of a letter form. So we have post-its, so and kind of like leaving messages here on the fridge or in his shoe, kind of like something nice of the day. It used to be Saturday day, have a blessed day, or missing you already, just kind of things that really boosts your day, your confidence when you're
Mhm.
leaving your house and so on and so forth. It's about writing. Ultimately, for me, it's about writing. I know we
Mhm.
have phones these days, but I still do that thing of I'll write and leave it around because that's how I began. And that's the one thing was about relationships or marriages, right? The foundation upon which you begin your marriage determines the longevity,
Yeah.
or whether or not it's you're going to have a longevity. It's really
Okay.
important. And so for each person, it's also important on how which style you begin, how you begin that, and what runs right through. I've been with my husband for what 25 years, or going to be 26 years this year, right? So the reality is you have got to think of what really works for you at the beginning, communicate that. And for us, it was writing. you
Hmm.
know, it was writing. And people have lost the art of writing, like start to write, put pen and paper. Some of them don't even know how to write. They're like, what do you mean writing?
No,
Paper, pen?
no,
What's
don't
that?
worry about it.
You know,
It's
any
What is
Yeah.
no,
that?
See,
pick up the
Farah,
phone
I think with
and
love
video call
letters,
me.
the love
Not
letters
just
is
phone
good.
call.
If you want to
It's
send
more
a love
endearing.
letter, that's fine. But if you have something serious to say,
Oh,
you
yes,
know, the best way is to sit down face to face, no
I
distraction,
agree. I
and
agree.
talk. Because if you want to send, "Oh, I love you, let's meet up later," let's, that
yeah,
lovey
that's
dovey thing, that's fine.
Mhm.
But when you have some serious issue that you need to get off your chest or come to some agreement on, it's a face to face, because you want an instant answer, you want to see reaction, you want to, are you on my side, is it something we're going to forget, is it something we're going to work on, or we're just going to call today. You want closure. So it's
yeah.
not like sending an email off and waiting for a reply. No, you want to reply yes, no, straight away. I agree, I don't agree. That way you leave the room on a clear playing field, a plain
Yeah.
playing field. It's easier. If I had something to say to my wife that I wasn't happy about, I'm calling her. Sit down, darling. I got something to say to you. Hear me out. And sometimes even if she wants to say yeah, but no, I said, hold on, let me finish. Then you can have your turn, or you finish and then I'll speak. Respect each other's space,
Mm.
and reason together in a way that you leave in peace. Even if it's something hurtful that you have to say, that she may have done something that you didn't like, you was out, I didn't like what you said to me, I didn't like what you do, you got to say it in a respectful way and clear the air. Without putting that on paper, it wouldn't suit me, because then I'll be wondering, she might write back, I'm sorry, darling, I love you, but it's not the same thing as saying it.
No, I'm
Okay,
replying. I'm
Yeah.
replying.
I,
I'm
I,
I
replying.
think
I,
it's important. Sorry.
I
Just
agree with what you're saying. Sorry,
okay.
totally.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to go back to, the fact that you mentioned that you did that once, and I've done the same thing once when it comes to something serious. What I learned from mine was that was a key. I think it's profound, but it's also a key breakthrough too. The reason being, when you write something of that nature, or you write exactly, pour it all out on the paper, the person gets to understand. By the time you sit down, because we have to sit down and still have conversations, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
We still had to sit down and have conversations, but it was a way of getting that person to see, getting him to see in black and white, and to read, and to have time to digest, to understand, and to perhaps look at how he's feeling about what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Okay, because you've had time, you've mellowed down, your thoughts, you gather your thoughts, you start gathering your thoughts before you can sit down and have that conversation. Now, I'm not saying do this every single week, every single day. Like you heard both of us say, both women have said, it was once in a series of decades or 2 decades of a relationship. It allows the person to truly read, understand, digest. And don't get me wrong, sometimes men are not always forthcoming in when it comes to serious stuff sometimes, right? And for us, we were quite young then too, so it was something of having to write it down and say, this is exactly what my thought process is, of what I'm experiencing, going through, and feeling, and then leave that person to read, and really having to respect your words, and appreciate that you've taken the time to write this down, because it's even more serious, because now it's written down. Gosh, it must be really serious, because when you try and communicate that, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, let's sit down, let me talk, oh here we go. And also, when you write something down, you get it all down, you're thinking
Yeah.
about what you're writing. When you were speaking in front of the person, sometimes your emotions can get in the way of pouring everything out. You're looking at the person's body language. They might not be suited to what you want to see in front of you. And so they might even stop you in your tracks because of the way that they're responding to what you're saying, right? But putting that on paper, you have the time to put everything down on paper, and they have the time to read, digest, and understand where you are coming from. Before they engage in conversation with you, they get the picture, and it makes for the conversation an even better conversation.
All right, Christiana. Look, I hear what you're
That's
saying.
it.
I hear what you're saying. You're saying Lois says you can add an emoji to it. No, try not to. You can add something Michelle said earlier. No, if you write to me, all you're going to do is petrify me. I'm going to think the worst has happened. There's no. Men are not going to see. I don't know how your husband took it. I'm saying your husband. I say. For me, if my wife writes to me, I'll think something drastic has gone wrong. Seriously.
Yeah, because that is not the way you guys have been.
Yes. And I
So
will
yeah,
scare the life out of me. And if I
understand.
have to speak to you
No
again, and
letters in house. Nobody's writing. Nobody should
hmm,
send them paper or pen. They don't do that in their house. We get
yeah,
it.
you're right.
So that's fine. But,
I did like Michael Rivers' point though. Maybe every conversation will end up with a hug and a kiss. And my wife will kill me. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
because she knows you would not stop there.
Yeah, something
So
like that. So,
you know,
you know.
so
I'm just saying.
so we all understand how we communicate and why. And sometimes we know why to avoid certain things because we know that that's not where we're trying to go. So it's
Yes.
all we all get the general picture. But yeah, I think it's really quite interesting that when we understand the differences in what we do and why we do them, then it may help us, especially hoping that we're coming from a place that wants to understand and that wants to prioritize our spouse and wants to help them. Because if we understand why our spouse is doing what they do so that we can, you can approach it from a battlefield strategy mindset where it's like, okay, I'm trying to figure you out so I can figure out how to outdo you. That doesn't help a marriage to thrive. Okay, the goal is, oh, I see.
Working
So
together.
if a man if a man truly wants to know what I have to say, he just doesn't want a whole lot of words. Then, oh, okay, how can I summarize so that he can get what I want to say and we can still connect? However, I do need a lot more talking. So if he's not going to do that, can I talk with my friends sometimes, or can I find some other outlet sometimes, and then sometimes find ways to summarize? So we're doing this because at the end of the day, we still want to keep close, but we want to make sure that we keep both of us happy and we keep the relationship thriving. So I hope that that's the benefits that this conversation has had, and not just to see, oh, okay, we're different, so we're enemies. We're not different and therefore enemies. We're different and therefore it adds to the flavor. Therefore it's spicy. It's fun. It's exciting because we get to study someone who's completely not the same as we are, and yet have a team of two different people. Yeah, I think that's very exciting.
I
Yeah.
think thank you very much, Christiana, Kiefer. You're both stars, really. Me and Tolu do this every other week. So of course we have people come and share with us, but you two have been glorious.
Yeah.
Amazing guests to make our work easier, to share really good points. So we're definitely thankful to all of course, everyone in the audience as well. Thank you for joining us. You
Thank
know,
you.
I think it's finding the way you communicate, whatever that may be, and that may change. I think it's which I think just most of the things I'm going to say. I try and be present. I try and listen. I try. I don't say I'm good at it. I try and listen. I try and be understanding. I try and see the other person's point of view. I try to respond. Hello, CJ. How you doing? JJ, how you doing? Sitting there quietly. Cool, CJ. Yes. Too many pictures.
Jimmy is my family, right? So we have JJ, CJ, and MJ.
The J family.
J family.
But no, really, I think it's no. We can have pleasant conversations if we are nice people. Let's try and be nice people. I'll leave it at that. Nice people give each other time to talk. They listen to each other, right? They care what the other one has to say. So be that person who does care. I think that I like Rakesh's point. Concerned communication is key. I think that's what I'm trying to say in many words. See, a man does use many words. Unless you're Rakesh, you make it very easy. Concerned communication.
5 words. I told you it was 5. I told you it was 5.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. So we're back here again in 2 weeks' time. So do join us again. It's picking up nicely. Hopefully, everyone says we join again.
Yeah.
Better next time. Christiana and Keith, if you have anything you want to say before we leave today, please feel free.
Thanks for the invite. It's been really, I enjoyed myself immensely. And thank you to Luz. Great subject. It's need to be talked about more in today's society. We sometimes forget who our best friends are, our partners. And sometimes, especially for the ladies, take them out for a night out. No, you pay for it. Take them out to a meal. If they like dance, take them to a dance. Take them somewhere where they're going to enjoy themselves. And a woman appreciates a man or a husband who does that. Sometimes it's the best way to make peace and to communicate, even without saying anything. Bring the days gone where we used to bring in flowers on a Friday, chocolates, and a slice of cake. We're so busy now trying to make a living and building ourselves that we forget those the nearest to us. So let's remember to bring a little gift now and then. These are things that we've forgotten. And that bring peace, because even if she was mad at you at AM, when you come in with some flowers and chocolate at 5 a.m., guess what? It's deleted. She's forgotten all about all that puff and puff all day. And all she saw was chocolate and flowers.
Unless it's Paulette. And Paulette you're still going to listen to that.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you so much. People are saying, don't stop courting your spouse. Don't stop. Just because you got married doesn't mean the courtship has to end. That's what I'm hearing from people. Thank you so much. Christiana, any final words?
Yes, I completely agree with what Keith has said, and I think what you're saying essentially is the communication is making the time for each other. It's making that time, whether you take them out, but not everybody wants to go out, but or even have the time to opportunity to go out. But even in your house, you can still make the time. You can still have date night in your house. It just depends on how you plan that out, how you want to do that. But essentially, it's making the time for each other, appreciating each other. I always say when you begin a relationship, think of this as your savings box, right? So we all have savings account. We put money in and we save and save and save. When you have time and make time for each other, you are continuously uploading, you're continuously putting more and more in your savings bank so that whenever you get into a situation that's probably difficult or life throws something at you, those memories that you've built, and you can take that out of your savings box and remember the joyous times you've had, right? So you can savor on the joyous times you've had, which takes you through the journey of your marriage, essentially.
Yeah.
My message today is don't allow what began as the light in your life to become the darkness in your life. So it's really important. And that's what happens when relationship people go separate ways in relationship. You never really took the time to continue to invest in that, to make time for each other, time to respect, time to communicate, time to love, time to care, time to show that love, you know? So, like I said, don't allow what began as a light in your life to end up being a darkness in your life. That's my thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Lily, for
so
the invitation.
That's so
thank
profound to me. They make you and me look heartless. But I like them both. Well said, Christiana. Well said. I don't want to kill someone today.
What are you talking about? Anyway, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. I want to say that if anyone is hurting, I realize that we laughed a lot today. We talked about communication, we talked about the good sides, we talked about healthy relationships. But I know that there are people who are out there who are broken, whose hearts are, who are going through a tough time, whose homes are not feeling like home. You need to talk. If you need someone to talk to, just reach out. I'm here. Christiana is here. Let's talk and let's get started on hopefully what could be your journey to a better place. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. And at this point, it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Michael. We do see you. So,
Michael,
join us next time, my friends. You take
Good
care, everyone.
night. And thanks
Thanks.
again,
Night.
Ellie. Thank you.
good night.
Thanks, Tulu. Thanks, Christiana.
Thank you, Keith. It's so nice to meet you. Thank
And you
you.
too. You
Take
too.
care.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.